Hi guys. Breathe and get contemplative. Oh, maybe I should tie an extra button now that we started. You guys are happy? We spoke a few weeks ago about Brahma, about the creator of all things, the origin of all things. We spoke of his mind and his body, which is the same thing, but we have point of views of that. Just put yourself in that mood, since this is where we're going this time. Quickly, as a simple review, if you breathe and you pay attention to yourself, and you know that you're conscious that you're breathing, one part of the simple practice is you know you're breathing. But another part is that you know that you know. You are conscious that you're conscious. Awareness of self, consciousness of self. Consciousness of the breath. So we're conscious. Now that you have this feeling of being conscious, just think everything in the universe is conscious, like me. Like when I have a realization, every sentient being in the universe can have realization. I'm pretty sure cats have less metaphysical revelations than humans. So you're conscious that you're conscious. That's what matters. And it's not a phenomenon that is exclusive to you. Everything in the universe has this possibility of awakening. So if you think everything can be conscious in the universe, that's Brahma. If you want the feeling of Brahma, everything is conscious. And to contemplate this, we simply have to pay attention to the fact that we are conscious, so that we can understand or grasp the feeling of, I'm conscious. Now I think everything is conscious. That's Brahma. The second part of that trinity is Vishnu. In Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. The second part of the trinity is Vishnu. Everything is object or manifest. So you have a body, you feel your body. You also have emotions. You feel them when you have your emotions. You have thoughts. Maybe you don't feel it, but you realize it. You're aware that you're thinking. And when you have a moment of wisdom, you're aware of something. It's not just free awareness. It's an object. It's a realization. It's a moment of wisdom. So it is like that on every plane. You feel yourself in various ways. Now, use this feeling, I feel myself at various levels in various ways. Project it to the universe. The entire universe feels itself at many levels in various ways. Even more funky than that is that every object in the universe, every sentient being, every inanimate object feels itself in a way or another. And that is Vishnu. The whole of the universe as one is conscious of itself in its body, its emotion, its mind, and beyond. But also every individual object are conscious in their capacity to be conscious and feel themselves at every level. And that is Vishnu. So Brahma is consciousness of everything, and Vishnu is every experience and every object that we can be aware of. Universal scale. That's Vishnu. Brahma and Vishnu are constantly interacting. It's flowing one in another because consciousness requires an object to be conscious of something. And the object, be it you or a rock or another planet, the object is conscious only because Brahma is paying attention to it. So Brahma and Vishnu are constantly flowing. Brahma's mind, Brahma's body, or Brahma and Vishnu, if you want. And that interaction requires events. Something must happen. So when you're conscious of something, it's because something happened. Sometimes you are reacting to the event. The event happens, it reveals something. You're conscious of something because you're reacting to it. You're not always reactive. Always reactive would mean that you're a slave of nature. Now, sometimes you're creative. You're the one who decides to do something, and it also provokes an experience and an awareness. These events that happen to you or that you choose to do, that is Shiva. Well, when it's just you, it's just you. But just feel this idea. You can act or you can react, and both are acceptable. This phenomenon is everywhere in the universe. Every time an electron switches from one atom to another, every time two stars get a bit too close and start exchanging streams of stars, whenever you shake someone's hand, when you think, there's a multitude of events to which you can react or that you have caused. There's, in the entire universe, tons of events that has nothing to do with you. That something or someone is reacting to, or something or someone decided to act. That's a lot of events. These events are Shiva. Shiva is every event. Every interaction. That is Shiva. So now you have it, the philosophical concept of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Brahma is it's not everything conscious. Brahma is all of consciousness, flowing as a single stream of consciousness in all things. Vishnu is everything that can be conscious of. Every experience, if you want. And Shiva is every event that forces a revelation between the consciousness and the object. At the universal scale and at the individual object scale. Everywhere That is Shiva. Interaction, forcing revelation, awakening, progress, evolution. That's Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. My goal this class was not to explain the Trinity of Consciousness, but explaining this was required for me to move on deeper into the explanations of Shiva. If I don't explain Shiva, you might go back to the historical counts of the mythology of Shiva, the beliefs in a god that looks like a person. Shiva's always dancing because he's every event. He's always in motion. But it's not an actual person that looks like the statue dancing. Shiva is depicted with 1,000 arms because he's causing every single event that happened. But it doesn't really have 1,000 arms because it's not a body. It's not an actual person. Okay? It's just a depiction. These statues, they are depictions trying to carry the wisdom. The wisdom is an experience that is felt. A constant flow of interaction in the entire universe that way surpasses you. It's so much bigger than us. It's huge. And that is Shiva. There's something beautiful in Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Consciousness of all things revealed through interactions that provoke more consciousness awakening of all things that will act again and cause awakening of more consciousness of all things. And it flows like this. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. So to properly grasp the feeling of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, we have to liberate ourselves from the mythological understanding that Shiva is a god that got angry at Brahma and cut off one of his heads. Shiva, if it's not a person, an entity who acts with a local identity, then it cannot be someone who is angry, and it cannot cut someone else's head through a normal hateful reaction. Especially that Shiva is described as the god of compassion. How would the embodiment, or not embodiment because there's no body, how could the summit of compassion, the most precious divine sense of compassion, have enough hatred to cut one of the heads of his father? The mythology was made in times of war, thousands of years ago, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. People were just doing their best through their own experience to share what they lived. We have to let the mythology go. It's old. It's not evolved enough for us. The goal of this preamble to the class, which took 15 minutes, is for you to grasp Shiva is the constant flow of events, interaction, actions, reactions, all combined in an eternal flow, and that is Shiva. And from Shiva's point of view, or from God's point of view, that is compassionate. There's no intention of hatred or violence. There's a desire to interact. Locally, it becomes the wanting to be loved. The Mask of the Savior is the most beautiful mask of the ego, because it is a precious attempt from an egocentric point of view to simulate compassion, which is not a bad thing. Fake it until it's real, practice until you get it. Now we're going to name a fourth god, fourth divinity from the pantheon, the Hindu pantheon, Parvati. Parvati is described as a huge, cold mountain, a big rock, dense and heavy. Parvati is the manifest aspect. Parvati is the objects that are affected by the events. So if you want, Parvati is related to Vishnu, but she's the wife of Shiva in the pantheon. She's the lover of Shiva. So Shiva, when he wants to act or interact or react, in any way that there's dynamic, Shiva wants to do this with the world at every plane, but denser than the divine level. He wants to go into the manifest world and interact with things. And that phenomena is Parvati. Parvati is those objects that are moved. So, in the explanation I gave earlier, every experience that we have of objects is Vishnu. The objects themselves are Parvati, the things. The third person of the pantheon for the Kabbalist is Yahweh, in the sphere of Bina. And Yahweh from the heavens projects downwards. And the He Vav He is one power interacts with another. Okay, that was a little parenthesis for the Kabbalists. Shiva and Parvati join together in love. They have a baby which is an elephant, a huge force that is unstoppable, but also a gray, heavy thing. The son of Parvati and Shiva is Ganesh. Let's not get too mixed up in all the mythology. Shiva, the experiences that we have from interacting. In Parvati, all these objects we're interacting with, the manifest universe, is cold and dense enough to compensate for the hot fire of Shiva's wheel. Shiva in constant movement is hot, burning, with compassion, with love, with joy, mostly joy of wanting to try everything that is possible. And Parvati is this cold rock that grounds Shiva in the manifest world. All right, let's put this aside for a moment. Breathe and pay attention to yourself. Every time you breathe consciously, Shiva happens in your body. In another exercise, I would say your soul makes love to your body through the breath. A breath is not an object, it's an event. And in that event, there's an exchange. And your soul, through a conscious breath, your soul is your consciousness. And through a breath in the body, it's a physical event. And you are conscious of the body. And your consciousness goes to the body. And there's joy there. There's a romantic feeling The breath comes in, it goes out. And in this movement of conscious breathing, the soul makes love to the body. It's not sexual, but it's romantic. You know? That feeling, that consciousness through an event can get into the mass of things, can go into your emotions and your thoughts and your awakenings of wisdom and so on. The entire universe does that. And that entire universe, God making love with the manifest world through that interaction. That is Shiva and Parvati joined in union. In the Hindu tradition, Shiva and Parvati went on the top of Mount Kailash, and there they made love for 10,000 years. It's a metaphor. It's a 5-digit, meaning that they were going to give birth to Ganesh. This is what delivers power to the rest of the universe. When Shiva romantically takes the manifest world and enjoys it, and that gives birth to power in this world. So you breathe. Your soul makes love to your body romantically. The entire universe does that. It is Shiva joined in sacred union with Parvati, constantly together through every event that happened, delivering more power into this manifest world, from the heavens to the earth. The Siddhi of this week is ShivaParvati. ShivaParvati. What can I experience myself locally in the breath that brings consciousness in the body? The entire universe does it as ShivaParvati. So obviously, the practice of ShivaParvati will not be exclusive to you. It is a Siddhi where you admire that the entire universe is doing that. And through that contemplation, you get carried into the motion, while being relaxed, rested. ShivaParvati. 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 It could be sexual for a human if you contemplate Parvati and Shiva making love. But it's not two people. It's not humans. It's a universal concept. It's romantic, but not sexual in an animal way for the human. But to depict this is where they showed Parvati sitting on Shiva, and Shiva is cross-legged, and they're making love. And they depicted it, and it gave birth to Hindu proto-porn, if you want, where they use these images to make the Kama Sutra. And humans, as they anthropomorphize everything, have used this in a sexual fashion, which is not wrong. It's simply so limited to focus on an animal sexual event when it's meant to be a representation of Shiva. Through all events, allows consciousness to enter the universe. And Parvati embraces that consciousness, gets imprinted, and gives birth to power. Through the practice of ShivaParvati, philosophical realization can happen. Poetry can happen. Sexual desires can happen. Don't control it, but don't focus on it. Like any Siddhi, let it reveal what it wants to say. Let it reveal the wisdom, the experience. It will bring you benefits as a local human to contemplate something much greater than you. The beauty in the universe is everywhere. You'll look at nature and probably find it more beautiful. I don't want to say too much side effects. You'll get them. The contemplation is ShivaParvati. ShivaParvati. The romance of the Creator and His creation. The flow of events and everything manifested. The interactions. The jokes that are laughed at. The handshakes, the kisses. The bills that are paid. And the electrons exchanged. ShivaParvati. It's the divine realm interacting with its manifestation. That is Shiva. ShivaParvati. Yeah. I wish you all an excellent week.